got John Knowles in the house this week. John's got a pedigree a mile long. He's collaborated with, really the world's finest fingerstyle and classical guitarists. Chet Atkins, Jerry Reed, Lenny Brown, Tommy Emmanuel, the Romero family. That's just the top of the list. He's won a Grammy, 2 Emmy nominations, inducted into the National Thumb Pickers Hall of Fame, and was awarded the very first C.G.P., that's Certified Guitar Player, by Chet Atkins. Tommy Emmanuel is one of the other C.G.Ps. I think it was awarded to 3, maybe 4 players in all of history. Fortunately for we fingerstyle players, and actually I can't say we because I've always really wanted to learn fingerstyle, and one of the projects we'll be working on with John is a course to get flat pickers like myself into the art of fingerstyle. But fortunately for everyone, he is a passionate, he's a consummate, very accomplished educator. Guitarists around the world, probably many of them tuned in right now, learn from his Fingerstyle Quarterly. And we've done a couple of projects already with John. We did Fingerstyle Journals. Then we did duets with both John and Tommy. And John's back this week to do Fingerstyle Journals 2. And we're going to tell you all about all of those projects. We're going to let John artfully end this tune. You never interrupt a master. Beautiful.
Thank you, thank you.
How are you, man?
Doing good.
Good. So you're back. Let's see, this is your 3rd round here with us.
It is, yeah.
So I don't know, what is it? Do you like the weather down here, the food down here? What brings you back for a 3rd time now?
Well, I think it's always fun to sit here in the TrueFire chair and be surrounded by like spirits.
Yeah.
You know, it's a good thing. So I'd say it's that. And then the food is pretty good.
Yeah,
you know?
The food is
The
good.
weather reminds me of how I grew up, on the Gulf Coast in Houston. So
is it the same kind of
same
balmy?
kind of thing, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Cool. So I'll tell just a little story. I remember the first time we met was at the Chet Atkins convention.
That's right.
We were there. It was actually our first of many, experiences there. And we heard you play and, blown away. And then we got to meet you at a booth. You had a tabletop booth. All of this educational material kind of laid out in front of you. I mean, you're a prolific educator. And, we nudged you back then. We put the seed of the idea to maybe come and do an interactive thing with us. And so, dream come true, man. You're back here for the 3rd time. And we've got lots of stuff we're going to do moving forward.
Future plans. You got it. Yeah.
I know. So let's give folks first of all, a little housekeeping. Encourage everyone, please, to chime in. Tell us where you're tuned in from so we can shout back out to you, number 1. Number 2, feel free to ask as many questions as you like. John not only loves to answer questions, he's really, really good at it. You will get a good answer. Number 3, you'll notice underneath the video, there's a promo code, Knowles. That'll save you 25% on either of the 2 courses already available today, which is Fingerstyle Journals, the first one, or the duets
Certified
project
duets, yeah.
you did with Tommy, which is spectacular. And we're going to talk about that and the award you won for that. Or this brand new course. You can even pre-order that using that code, save 25%. Hurry. It's a limited time frame for you to do that.
That's right, 25% off, but they'll get 100% me.
That's right, exactly. And we also have a trivia question. And the
Oh,
trivia
yeah.
question for today, and you get, if you answer correctly and you put the answer, click the link. Do not put it in the chat thread. Don't share the correct answer with everybody else. That'll just lower your odds. Click the link, enter it, on that page, and we'll pull from all the correct answers. We're going to give somebody a $100 gift card, which
right.
will buy them a ton of John Knowles stuff now and in
yeah.
the future. Okay. So here's the trivia question. John played on with a classical flautist on an
Right.
album. It's an awesome project. The correct answer would be who or what was the name of the album?
We call him a
name the
flute
album.
picker in Nashville, yeah.
Okay, cool. A flute picker in Nashville. So if you click the link, answer it correctly, we'll do the drawing at the end of the show. And while I'm doing the housekeeping, John, there's a thumbs up below the video.
Oh, yeah.
Give it a click, share your love, helps us spread the love. And, we'd all very much appreciate it. So let's tell them about what the Fingerstyle Journals project is all about. Tell us.
Well, the first one we did was just a chance for me to share some tunes. That some of them I've written, a couple of things that are kind of more well-known, like Danny Boy is in that first one. And a lot of what I learned how to do, I learned first from listening to records and then from hanging out with my heroes. And so I wanted to show people how to play the tunes, but I also wanted to share, kind of my life experiences that brought me to the point where I could sit down in a room with Chet Atkins or Jerry Reed. It's one of those things where if I'd have thought to have a bucket list, I'd have never thought to put those people on it. So thank goodness I didn't do a bucket list. I just kept my head down and I did my work.
Yeah.
And I looked up and I was in the room with my heroes.
Amazing.
And so it's really fun for me to share, what I've learned along the way. I really feel like as much as playing the tunes, sharing them is how my mission works.
Yeah, and what's interesting, to all of your fans, to all of us, and your peer musicians is, you are you're a phenomenal player. You're a phenomenal songwriter, but these songs come to you in a kind of, there's a spark of inspiration drawn from an experience you've had or an emotion you're feeling, some kind of moment in your life, and you're able to use that as the inspiration for the song and color it in there. You feel that emotion or you feel that event in the song, even though there may not be words there.
And I kind of did that before I came to Nashville, but when I got to Nashville, I realized all the songwriters kept a little notebook where they jotted down things. I would be at a table with songwriters and I'd say something that I thought was clever and they were all writing it down, and I thought, I think I just helped somebody write a hit song, but they're not going to mail me a check, So I got to where I started noticing things around me and making notes. So I had at first Post-it notes and ultimately a little notebook with things in it. There's one tune that I was going to play in a minute. I remember we went to a restaurant, and right next to the restaurant there was a gift shop. And in the gift shop there was a stuffed animal. It was like Easter time, And this was a chicken with a raincoat. And I thought, what? So I wrote down chicken with raincoat and decided later to write a tune called Chicken in the Rain. And only later did I discover that I went back and looked in the window, and it wasn't a chicken, it was a duck. And so I thought, duck in the rain is not funny,
No.
So I stuck with the chicken. So sometimes a slight misapprehension of what's going on out there will lead you, in an interesting direction.
Nice. Tommy is flashing the picture of that duck in a raincoat. I don't know how you could have seen that as a chicken. Looks pretty ducky to me.
I think I must have looked out of the corner of my eye. I looked at it with songwriter eyes, where you kind of shape things to your personal needs.
Well, what's amazing is I love the tune. You're going to play that for us.
I'll
in a
play
moment,
it for
right?
us, yeah.
I love that tune, and what I want our viewers and listeners to notice is you will hear these chickens in the rain. And this was before I even really knew. I didn't even know what the title of the song was, let alone where the inspiration came from. So if you'd be kind enough, play that tune for us.
You got it. Chicken in the Rain.
There you go.
Yeah, at the end, the words are chicken in the rain. And that's one of the things I learned from hanging out with Chet. He said, when you write an instrumental, you should always put the title in there somewhere so people can hear it. So I waited till the end in that case.
Do you ever write songs with lyrics?
I do. Sometimes I'll write a substantial chunk of lyrics, but then write an instrumental around those lyrics. And then other times I'll write things with lyrics. I realized later, I kind of found out that for several generations in my family, starting on my dad's side, everybody wrote verse to each other. There was like Christmas card tags would say, "Look in the closet and you will find," that kind of thing, you know. And so when I started doing that when I was a kid, I just didn't think much about it. But then you get to Nashville and you realize that's quite of the realm, you know. And so I did that. One of the first things I wrote when I was about, I guess 11, my dad came home. He was a preacher. He came home from the board meeting, and somebody had told him a joke about a guy named Toeless Joe who had pulled his gun out faster than he could. He fired before he got it out of the holster, and his name was Toeless Joe. And so I wrote this song, No Toes Joe, with 4 verses. You know, I left him 1 toe. So I kind of figured out how to do that and make something out of it. And that was still in my ukulele days. You know, couldn't have reached around a guitar at that point.
Of course.
So.
I love how, you know, every one of your songs, you know, while a beautiful musical composition, you know, it has meaning and tells a story. And, you know, what you do in all of your courses is not only share your own insight, but the insight of a lot of phenomenal artists and songwriters themselves. So it's really a wealth of information.
Yeah, that's a really important thing for me. And, you know, if I could encourage other players out there, I think every guitar player at one time or another comes up with something original. And it's amazing to me how many times I will hear a guitar player play something and I'll say, great, what's the name of that? I don't know, I haven't come up with a name yet. Because that's the backwards of how I do it. I come up with a name, and sometimes I'll change it.
Yeah.
And I didn't change it to Duck in the Rain, you know,
Right.
but I'll come up with something that's got me going, and there's either some rhythms or an atmosphere or a feeling or something that then I'll hang the tune on that.
Yeah.
And every now and then I suppose I've come up with a tune kind of in the abstract without a story like that. But I think I'm a storytelling guitar player kind of guy, you know, is what it boils down to.
Well, tell us another story. How about Turning Home?
Oh,
Also
yeah.
from Fingerstyle Journals, the first one, right?
Yes.
Interesting because, you know, the way you write your instrumentals is a lot like, you know, songwriters write songs. Many songwriters start with a title.
Yeah.
Or start with just a line or a phrase that move them, and then build, you know, from kind of the inside out instead of coming up with a fancy lick or something, which is all, there's nothing wrong with
No,
that.
it's a different way to do it, yeah.
Okay.
You know, I remember this turning home. I didn't have the words turning home, but I did have the idea of like being out on the ocean. So ultimately the turning home means turning the big ship around and heading back to port, you know. And the other thing, and this is not unusual, I had about half of this one written, and the other half, I liked the first half so much I was afraid to add anything to it. And I rejected a lot of options, believe me. And finally one day it dawned on me when I said turning home and water and so forth, I realized when you come back to port, there's a buoy with a bell. And so I just put the bell in there for the bridge, you know.
nice.
And so, again, that's part of the storytelling, paint the picture
Absolutely.
kind of a thing. This was also my mom's favorite tune. She would say, play that one I like. You know the one I mean.
Okay, play it.
Yeah. I said, so a son knows, you know.
Uh-huh. Very nice. We hear the bell. You know, it's I don't know, it's so great to kind of hear a little bit of backstory before you listen to the tune.
You know, the thing that's funny about that one, too, there's like a double backstory in that I had just gotten my guitar. Kirk Sand made this guitar for me out in Laguna Beach, and it was really sounding good. And Tommy and Pat Bergeson and Andy Selleck and I were rehearsing to go out on and play a Christmas tour together. And we were hanging around, and I said, man, listen to how great this guitar sounds. And I started playing Turning Home. And Tommy heard the ocean right away, you know. And he said, it sounds like you're going home for Christmas. Let's call it a Christmas song. So it ended up in the Christmas tour. And it's one of the live bonus tracks on our Heart Songs record.
You know, Tommy is also very, very, it paints pictures with his songs and tells stories. I mean, you know, both of you were great friends, and Chet was a mentor to the both of you. Was that Chet's approach? Did he teach you how to think like that?
He did. He really thought a lot about the people who don't play an instrument and don't write songs and all that, but they just go to work and they come home at the end of the day and they listen to music. And they want to be able to hum a melody. They want to be able to be touched by a story, to be moved. And one of his things about writing instrumentals is he said, people have a hard time sometimes relating to instrumental music because there's no words. He said, but if you give them a title and then put the rhythm of the title somewhere in the song, you know, then you'll have something. So if you listen to like his song, Happy Again, you can hear those words just lurking. I asked him one time, does Happy Again have words? He said, well, it could, you know. So he wrote it as if it was a song that could be sung, even though, so there's breathing and there's phrases. He would very often test drive a song by singing it to see if it made sense to sing the melody. You know,
interesting. Let's do some shout outs to fans.
Oh, yeah.
As I told you, they'll come from all over the world. We have folks tuned in right now live, watching and listening to you from New Hampshire, Oregon, Ohio, Abu Dhabi, Netherlands, Illinois, California, Las Vegas, Nashville, of course, Nashville.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Utah, Guatemala, where I hear it's raining cats and dogs down there right now. Transylvania, you have a fan there.
Yes.
Rome, Texas, Saigon, Honolulu, the French Alps, South Carolina, Sweden, Chicago, Orlando, Montana, St. Louis, North Carolina, Michigan, Germany, Florence, Italy, Bishop, California, Cork, Ireland, and Bern, Switzerland. Pretty crazy, right?
It really is. Well, I tell you, I grew up in a world in Houston when I was like 13 or 14, and playing the guitar, I did not even know another person who owned a guitar. And look at the world we live in now, and how we can be in touch with each other
Well,
like
it's wonderful.
this.
And,
Oh
you know,
man!
I repeat this all the time, but it's so relevant and so amazing when, you know, when we do one of these things and people come from all time zones, all different countries, race, creed, religion, government, you know, politics. But the one thing that bonds us together as a family is our passion for music.
Yeah, yeah.
And, you know, that's a pretty spine-tingling concept if you think about it, you know.
It really is. And I've met a lot of people, you know, on Facebook and YouTube, and then later I'll meet them in person or not. But they become good friends even if you haven't sat down across the table and had coffee.
I know. Speaking of good friends, we also have Anita and David from
Yes.
Italy.
Hi, guys.
They're tuned in right now as well. I don't know. Have you had a chance to listen to their latest album? It's
No, I haven't
incredible.
yet.
It's
I've
called
been busy
Our House.
practicing.
Anita, David, if you are still chimed in here, please send John a copy of that album. It's called Our House.
I think they sent me a link, as I recall.
Yeah, it's phenomenal, and they're beautiful people. They're in Italy right now, I believe. We have a question also. What did you win the Grammy for? Somebody wants to know.
That was when I first met Chet, and I was backstage at a symphony in Dallas, and he handed me his guitar and said, "Show me what you're working on." And I was working on The Entertainer from The Sting, and he said, "Finish that up and send it to me." So all of a sudden, from walking backstage, we're like working together. So I finished it up and I sent it to him, and it won a Grammy for Country Instrumental of the Year.
No kidding.
In 1974.
Wow.
You know, so
Incredible.
now, I kind of thought the music business was easier than it really is.
Yeah.
It seemed to me like all you did was go backstage and play for your hero. And
Yeah. Turned out not to be the case.
It turned out not to be the case, yeah. It's, I took a shortcut to the first step, but the second step is tough.
Yeah. So a few months ago, I can't remember exactly what month, but it was recent. You came in with Tommy Emmanuel, and we filmed duets.
Right.
And you guys had collaborated on an album. You went and did a nice tour. Why don't you play us one of the parts from one of the songs, and then we'll talk a little bit more about that project.
Yeah, this tune is called After Paris. And I struggled with the title. At first I called it Paris Again, because I was thinking about Paris Again. I thought, Paris Again is boring. After Paris, yes, all right. So you have your own After Paris idea of what that is. So much more evocative.
Beautiful, man.
Thank you.
I have to tell you, it was amazing for us to see the both of you, together, performing together, and kind of the back and forth, both, the kidding around,
Yeah.
and, you
When
guys,
we started to do After Paris, at first I just recorded it, and Tommy said, "Well, I guess that's going to be one of the solos on the record." I said, "No, no, no." I said, "I've played After Paris." I said, "You be Paris. You be Django Reinhardt. You be Stefan Grappelli. You be the little sidewalk cafes."
Yeah.
So with that image in mind, he just kind of hovered around me and created a whole atmosphere that was implied in the title. And every time he played it, it's different. You never know what he's going to do.
No,
I love working with him in that way.
oh, it was so much fun watching you. And you're both, very different personalities.
Oh, yeah.
Which make the two of you so harmonious together.
And you know what it is? We admire each other and we listen carefully to each other.
Right.
So it's always a great joy to play together. We were out there on the tour and somebody would say, "You guys must be good friends." And yeah, we are. And one person said, "Forget the Grammy. You guys should get the Nobel Peace Prize." I thought, whoa. So I see they've already awarded it this year, so maybe
Now,
next year.
You did get an award for the album,
We
right?
did, just within the last couple of weeks.
Let's see if Tommy, do you have an image you can pop up on the
Yeah.
screen?
I was in Muhlenberg County in Kentucky, where all the thumb pickers are from. And the Hall of Fame gives an annual award to the recording of the year. And our album, Heart Songs, was the album of the year.
There it is. It's up on the screen, and the awards are there. Beautiful album cover too.
Isn't that something? Yeah, we called this thing love songs for a long time because most of them were. And then Tommy's manager, Brian, said, "What about heart songs?" And I said, "Oh, man."
Yeah, beautiful.
And then immediately the mom tattoo, comes to mind. So.
Of course, yeah. So that's, of course, also available today and very widely acclaimed by, all of our students, and particularly the fingerstyle students, because, oftentimes you find yourself sitting with another guitar player, and you guys passed on, it was, look, just to see and hear and watch you play and get the tab and notation and all that, worth the price of admission alone, certainly. But the insight that you provided and how to play, how to interact with another player and stay out of each other's way and complement each other, that was just priceless information.
I'll tell you, we learned a lot working with each other. A lot of times when two guitar players get together, they just take turns. One plays the rhythm and one plays the melody. Like you'll play a tune everybody knows, like Sweet Georgia Brown. So we're all used to doing that. And what we did is we picked tunes that neither one of us knew, and then we structured the thing so that we were taking turns going back and forth in support and melody and things like that. And it took a couple of years to really do it right. But I got to tell you, the fun was all along the way. We must have consumed enough Starbucks coffee to own our own branch.
Yeah, Tommy loves his coffee,
Yeah.
doesn't he? Okay, so now let's talk about the course we just shot this week, which is Fingerstyle Journals 2. And it's another set of 6 of your original tunes. Talk about why you put these particular songs together into this edition.
For this course, I chose 6 tunes, and they had to be tunes I liked, because I so enjoy playing them. They're tunes I've seen other people learn how to play, so I know they're approachable. And they're tunes that I understand how I wrote them, what made me decide to compose that tune. And so in each case, there's a kind of a story of what got me started, the things of how I finished the task, and then, of course, the showing you what I had to learn. Almost anything, when you compose it, you can't play it when you first write it. And so if you can already play it, it's not composing, it's recycling. When you compose something, there's some bumps in the road that need to be resolved. That's when it's really more fun. I remember one of the tunes in the collection is one that I wrote for Lenny Breau. It's called Lately. And I had the good fortune of hanging around Lenny for a couple of years when he was in Nashville, and we we wrote a book together, a Bell Bay book that you can get, called Fingerstyle Jazz. And then he was killed. He was thrown in the swimming pool, And about a year after his death, I was just missing him, as were a lot of other people, I'm sure. And so I wrote this line down, lately I've been feeling lonely. And so lately was the idea for the tune. And what I remembered is that Lenny had showed me how singers won't sing on the beat. And there's very often there's a song that's got maybe 3 words over 2 beats. And you don't want to do, I'm in the mood for love. Well, I'm in the, and the I'm in the is all over 2. So it's 3 happening all at the same time 2 is happening. So I took that idea and wrote this lyric, lately I've been feeling lonely. And you'll hear that lyric, I hope, if my fingers are cooperating. So this guy's the lead singer. This is the rhythm guitar player. This is the bass player.
Cool.
In the style of Lenny.
Stage
From my
is
pal.
yours. I want to reiterate what you said, a few moments ago about your selection of these songs. They are, we use the word accessible, meaning, you don't have to be, a master fingerstyle guitarist to attempt learning and playing these songs.
I was really surprised. I was at a workshop this last summer, and 4 guys set out to learn lately, and they got it. And one of them got up and played at the student concert at the end of the week.
Nice.
That's the most I've ever seen that one, because it's you have to dedicate to making that finger cooperate and get on its own little time train.
Well, and they're all just they're beautiful songs for a listener, and they're beautiful songs just to play on your own. So more shout outs for you, John, from Bavaria, Charleston, South Carolina, Rome, Philadelphia, Russia, Arizona, Denmark, Australia, Steamboat Springs, Colorado, Fort Walton Beach, Florida, Pittsburgh, Arkansas, and Armenia. You've got a lot of fans
I've got
out
family
there.
in Steamboat.
Oh, do you really?
So
It's
we'll
probably
see.
who's tuned in right now.
I hope so, yeah. And a couple of guitar players I know live there, too. So.
There you go. Well, apparently there's a lot of guitar players and a lot of your fans in basically every time zone around the globe there. Make sure if you have questions, post them. We'll try to get to them at the end of this. And, man, I would love to see some of you fingerstyle and flat pickers pick any finger, thumb, middle finger, pinky, and click that thumbs up button, would you? It's how we share our love and spread our love, and we'd really, really appreciate it. And if you pump that up a little bit, I'm going to force John Knowles to play another tune at the end of this show. That's kind of a special one.
Oh yeah, I'll do that.
We'll do
As long as I
Gorilla.
get enough love.
Well, we'll get you some love. Come on now. Get clicking. Let's do another one of the tunes from Fingerstyle Journals too. How about Coasting?
Yeah, Coasting.
I love that one.
Yeah.
Tell the
Coasting
backstory of that.
is I had just learned how to play Jerry Reed's tune "Struttin'," which I thought totally captured his personality.
Yeah.
Bump beep, you know. And I decided to write one that sounded more like me and just called it "Coastin'," which was going to be more like me, but I wanted to steal from him at the same time. And so Jerry's got this chord, which is not in any of the books, right?
Yeah.
That resolves to this one. And so his lick is. And so I went to this chord, which, excuse me, that is in the books. That's not. And went to this one because Lenny had showed me how to put a weird chord, put an A in the bass, and resolve it by putting a D in the bass and just going up a fret.
Beautiful.
And that it sounds like, you know, dum body, you know. So I used that idea and wrote Coastin'.
Beautiful, man. Just beautiful. So, why do you teach? I guess is the question I'd like to ask.
You know, well, first thing I'll tell you is the first reason I taught was because I was more advanced than everybody around me because I got there first. And then I found out that my students weren't learning. So I quit doing it. And when I went back to teaching, I said to myself, if my students don't get better, I'm not teaching. So I kind of rearranged my thinking about it. And what I found is if you just listen to what they're asking for, it's really interesting. They weren't asking for me to tell my life story. They were saying, help me with this next measure. You know?
Yeah.
And so, I know how to do that because I stumbled at that point too. Right. So the real value in it for me is I very seldom see somebody make a mistake that I haven't already made. And I kind of know what I had to do to get past it. And I remember how much fun I had getting past it and watching me help somebody else get past it. Very rewarding, especially when they play nice. So
now you've, I remember when we first met you at that Chet Atkins convention. You had that tabletop. It was filled with a lot of printed material. How do you feel about, let's call it, the new medium of using video and some of the fancy dancy things that we do as a learning platform, as learning tools?
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
This is what I've been waiting for.
Yeah.
I started out really with a fountain pen and whiteout. So the first couple of books I wrote were done that way. And then a computer came along, and then I was able to add a cassette and finally a DVD, a CD. So little by little, I'm kind of up in the media game. And now here comes TrueFire. And so this is a chance for me to let everybody see everything I'm doing. And what I've found is that Some people need to hear it. Some people need to see it. Some people need to slow it down. Some people need to see the printed music. And here, you've got the whole grocery store, you know.
Yeah.
Just get your shopping cart out and go.
Yeah. There are a lot more tools available today
Oh, man.
than there were when I was coming up, that's for sure, right?
I could have cut a decade off of my life.
I know. Here's a question for you from
Yes.
R. Douglas Cole. I'm interested in the answer to this too. He's asking, how would you recommend a fingerstyle guitarist learn music theory and the fretboard?
Boy.
And I'm going to add another question.
Yeah.
How important is learning music theory? Obviously, the fretboard's important, but
Well, it's different importances to different people.
yeah.
It's important to me, and my first steps was learning to play the accordion as a kid. And what happened is the buttons are lined up like the chords. So you've got C in the middle and the flat keys down that way. As a matter of fact, the buttons are lined up like E, A, D, G, like that. If you put your finger here, it looks like the accordion. And then over here, you've got the piano keyboard. So I kind of taught myself to play the guitar by knowing music theory on, kind of cowboy music theory, not professor theory, you know.
Yeah.
Then later on, my curiosity led me. And I would say music theory is much more visible and graspable on a keyboard, which today means, you know, a little Yamaha keyboard or an app on your iPad, whatever it would be. You'll see the intervals. And then what you got to do is map that stuff back on to the guitar. What I did is, this is a C, that's a D, that's got to be the black note in between. And that's that was my starting point. Kind of elementary, but it got me pretty far. Of course, the one drawback of starting on the accordion is my first instrumental was Lady of Spain. So, but I've overcome that.
So, you know, even the phrase music theory is a pretty broad umbrella to cover.
Yeah.
What are the essential bits of music theory that, let's say, any guitar player should know, or certainly anyone who wants to write songs? Is it understanding progressions, understanding, you know, the strong tones in a scale? What's the real essential theory that we need to learn?
You know, what I think it is, and I love the way Nashville does this, is they use numbers instead of alphabet letters. And so what that means is, if you're in the key of C and you play that C chord, that's the 1. This is the 3rd note in the scale, that's 3. That's the 5th, and that's 1. And the scale lurks in between. Here's 1, there's the 2 that's in between, and so forth. Also, anything you learn on the guitar, sing it. So that you know where the notes are. This is the 3rd one. That's the 4th one. This is the 7th one, I hope, because I'm live. You know, and I can do that. It means if I have a song idea, and I want to start here. Oh, that's too high for my cold today. Da 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 dee dee da dee 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 dee. Da 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 dee dee dee. So I can sing through the fretboard now, and also know that I'm in a key, and if I stop and think about it, I know the names of the notes. But with the numbers, I kind of know the relationships of things. And if you gave me enough time, I could probably pass a theory test, but some young kid would beat me through it. I've learned lots of stuff, but I've kind of kept what seems essential to me as a working musician. But I will say this, I've found a use for almost everything I've ever learned. But I've never beat myself up over not knowing something.
Yeah. Interesting idea for a future project for us, right?
Yeah.
Or, you know, to kind of gather what you consider to be, let's call it essential theory, or another term is street theory, the theory that you should know to really help you get along.
Yeah.
You don't need to learn the modes of modes like a jazz player might be interested in. But you certainly need to know, well, I love the Nashville number system. You know, it's just because within that is a lot of theory, right? Like a 2 chord is a minor chord,
and they know their way
it goes
around
with the 1 chord. You know, and that's where a lot of progressions can stem from there. Which
you know what you've got there, Brad, is the Nashville number system is a theory, is in other words a way of naming things that matches up with playing by ear. So it's play by ear theory.
Yeah,
and I like play by ear theory. I don't want to just know the names of things.
Yeah.
I could know nouns and verbs, and I'll never be a poet.
Yep.
But I want to know if I get to that point in the poem and I need something, I want to know what I need.
Interesting.
And it helps to be able to look that up sometimes.
We should. Yeah, I'm going to make this announcement here live with witnesses literally all over the world. Okay, so they're going to hear this in English, but it'll be translated into dozens of different languages.
Great. Yeah.
I'm committing you now to your promise to do a channel. To start digging into your channel.
Man. Yeah. To answer questions like this.
This is perfect. So, we have this new platform. Many of you know it's called Channels. You can see it on TrueFire. We've been begging John to do one because it just would be a fabulous place for him to share not just performances and some of the tunes and song starters, but a lot of this wisdom and insight, and kind of preserve it for generations to come. So, number one, you need to get on John's list, either at his website or if you're a TrueFire member, just favorite him. Make him a favorite educator. That'll keep you posted on everything that he does here. Because this channel is going to answer a lot of questions, and you're going to pick up a treasure trove of wisdom. Every time you come in here, man, I learn a ton of new stuff.
Something. It's exciting for me to be here for that same reason. There is a learning energy and a let's do something we haven't tried yet energy here at TrueFire, which I hope I can bring to my channel for sure.
Well, there's no doubt about that. You ready for some more questions?
Sure.
Actually, wait. Let's play another song, and we'll do some more questions.
All
right. Lullaby.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Play Lullaby.
I'm going to tune the 6-string down. I'm going to tune carefully,
so
Chet would appreciate it.
What are you tuning to?
I'm tuning the 6th string down to D.
So drop D tuning?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's about the only thing I do.
Yeah. Other than standard tuning?
Yeah. The other day, too, and as an aside, after Paris, I saw somebody play it in dadgad tuning.
Is that right?
And then somebody else is learning to play it on the accordion.
Love it.
I think I'm about to have a hit,
It's already a hit, man.
So, this lullaby is, we were in the process of gathering these love songs, and somebody said, you guys should do a lullaby. That's a love song. Mm-hmm. And somebody else said, well, what about the Billy Joel lullaby? And I had to go look it up. I didn't know what it was. Good Night, My Angel. He wrote it for his daughter, who was about 6 and was starting to ask all those questions, that a young person will. Good Night, My Angel. And Tommy and I play this as a duet, but to work up my part, I listened to Billy Joel's piano part, and he was playing the melody because he wrote it as an instrumental. So it's an instrumental that he then added a vocal to. So at home, you can sing along. Almost woke the baby there for a moment, didn't I?
Man, it's just beautiful. So here's the deal. Number one, on behalf of both of us and everyone here at TrueFire, thank you for all those thumbs ups. You got over 100 of them now, so they must like
feel
what
like a
you're
hot
doing.
ticket. Yeah.
I can tell just from the the chat thread. You've got a lot of fans out there. And a lot of them, I've got a few questions for you, but a lot of them are begging, literally begging,
Yeah.
for you to play either Vincent or the Entertainer. So that's something.
Well, I haven't played either one of those in a while. Let's see. Let me try a little bit of Vincent.
Okay.
But I'll crank back down to D.
Yeah.
So this is an appreciation and an affection for those who asked.
Well, they're obviously big fans. I mean, they are begging. Okay,
Yeah.
so we have to give it a shot.
I
You don't
should've
have to
thought of
play
that.
the whole thing. Just
Yeah,
give us a
yeah,
taste.
Here we go. It's
For not playing it in years.
They got me. I got to go home and learn the rest of it again now. It
It's
is
beautiful.
It was one of those things when I first I watched Chet play Vincent, and I did not know that he had the fifth string tuned down to G.
Really?
And so I was playing around one day, and I thought, oh, it sounds like what Chet was doing. So I went back and was going to ask him to fill in the blanks,
Yeah.
and I was in a different key.
Oh, my
So we traded back and forth. In each key, there's certain things. So we traded licks back and forth and stole from each other. It's
Beautiful.
one of the most fun things about hanging out with him, for sure.
Here's, I'm going to shoot you a few questions.
Yeah.
Give me some quick answers. But in a moment, we're going to pull the winner of the $100 gift
Oh, yeah.
card. You get one more chance to enter the drawing. You click on the link. Don't post it in the chat thread. John played with a classical flautist on an album. Name the album. That's the correct answer. And then we'll draw in just a moment while John is answering these questions. And by the way, I really, we're not going to get to all of the questions or all the requests for tunes. That's why John is doing that channel. So,
Yeah.
it'll take him a little while to get it together. He's coming off the road. He's got some time. The best way to stay in tune with that is just, if you're a TrueFire member, just favorite John as an educator. Better yet, take advantage of that promo code and pick up either Fingerstyle Journals, the first one, pre-order this second edition, or get that Duets with Tommy Emmanuel. They're all just phenomenal. And that'll get you squarely on the list to be updated. If you're not a TrueFire member, you can join for free and also favorite John in that way. Okay, questions for you, man.
Yes.
A lot of people are asking about the forearm pad on your guitar. And
yeah, right here.
somebody answered, that Kirk Sands made
Kirk
that
Sand
for you?
made that for me. This is an ebony bridge
Yeah.
that he shaped to fit the curve here.
Nice.
And so I know he said I had a dream and I knew how to do it. Don't you love people like that?
Very
So
nice.
this guitar is very live here,
Yeah.
and when I would put my arm over it, I was muffling the top. So this floats just above
Oh, really?
the top, and it also puts a little bit of curve right here,
Nice.
so it doesn't kind of cut the circulation in your forearm.
So the purpose of it is what? Physical as well as
mostly
sonic?
to keep my arm off the top.
Okay.
So if I do this, I'm not touching the top. If I didn't have that there, I'd be pressing on the top at the same time. So that was an addition after we made the guitar, and I realized I was muffling it.
Awesome. And Kirk
I had
made
my hand
that
over its
guitar
mouth.
for you, right?
Yeah, he made this for me, yeah. And you can find him out there at Kirk Sand Guitars.
Oh, yeah. He's...
He's
Sands. Made a lot of very famous instruments. Let's see. Anita and David want to know... I just ask you to talk a little bit about how you think about harmonizing a melody. So, for example, and I think you covered this actually in the duets course. You and Tommy talked about this. When you have a melody, are you harmonizing chords around the melody, or do you have the chords and then harmonize the melody around the chords?
I think if I have anything like a process, when I have enough time to think about it, I think of the melody and then what bass line is going to work. And that comes from growing up being the preacher's kid and hearing the church choir, the bass singers and the soprano singers. And then the altos and the tenors move around in the middle. So if you do that, you've got lots of choices about what to do next. If you did Camptown Raises, it'd be like that. But if you did, you could do all the kind of things in between a good bass note and a good melody note.
So you're thinking melody first.
Melody first.
You're not even thinking about chords.
No. Bass line
layer
second.
in a bass part.
Yeah.
And therein lies many different
possibilities.
Harmonization possibilities for the chords.
And the other thing I'll do sometimes is like with Camptown Raises. Because I used to be a bass player, so I kind of know what bass players do.
That's very interesting.
So sometimes I'm writing those two parts. Now if I did that, so I can do lots of stuff in between. And anytime I'm around another player, I watch to see what they're doing too. But a lot of times people look at my left hand and they say, "What chord is that?"
Yeah.
And I almost have to stop and unravel it because I'm thinking more like parts than I am chords. But I'm weird that way. Don't try to be that when you grow up. So.
That's such a great answer, man. Very kind of ear opening.
I felt like I brought my channels on the air now.
That's right. Let's see. What about, Possible Humanity asks, he read somewhere that as a college student you took a lesson with Johnny Smith?
Yes.
And he gave you a list of things to work on in order to improve?
Yes. And this is one of the coolest guitar lessons I ever had. I was really a fan of his playing, and I found out from somebody else that he had left New York and moved to Colorado Springs and opened a music store. So I wrote him a letter. So my family's going to be up there. Could I come by and take a lesson? He said, sure.
Wow.
So the lesson was, he didn't play anything. He asked me to play things.
Really?
And everything I could play, he just kind of noted it. And anything I couldn't play, it got added to the list. Can you do this? Can you do that? What about that? And when we got through, I had like a list for myself.
Of things you had to learn.
Of things I had to learn.
Now, were you playing fingerstyle then?
No, I was still, I was already playing with a thumb pick.
Okay.
I could play a couple of Chet's tunes. And, he wasn't as interested in that. And I asked him to play, you don't want to hear me play. He was, and then my dad was there, and he wanted to get my picture with John. I didn't shave today.
Oh, really?
And I hear later that a lot of people who had a lesson with Johnny Smith got the I didn't shave thing. He just didn't like
He didn't like that.
to do the meet and greet thing, you know. But he was extreme. We spent about an hour, and he wouldn't take any money.
Now, don't reveal it here, but do you still remember that list?
Oh yeah.
That would be a great thing for your channel, wouldn't
Yeah.
it? Mm-hmm. You know.
Well, and it's something else I would encourage everybody to do, is make a list of all the stuff you know.
Yeah.
He was very interested that I knew some stuff on the accordion. He'd played with a couple of famous accordion players, and so he asked me about that. And so all that stuff you've learned somehow is what you know so far, and they're pieces of your own personal puzzle. There is not a universal puzzle of what to know.
Do you know what's so interesting is, we have these learning paths across different styles of guitar. And it goes literally from like absolute beginner all the way to advanced, right? And then we have a way for people to kind of assess themselves so they know where to start in a learning path. Invariably, even though there's the order of things, you have to learn how to tune the guitar, some open position chords, that even intermediate and advanced players find big gaping holes in their understanding of certain concepts. And so an advanced player might have to go back to an early intermediate level to pick up a couple of the missing pieces, which then kind of resonates back to their advanced level. So it is like it's not a linear thing, it's like almost a circle that you're striving to constantly plug.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, the number of times I would see like a songwriter come in and play a song for Chet, because he was a record producer, and he would say, he said, well, I'll show your song to so-and-so if you'll show me that guitar lick. This would be some songwriter, but he heard something that he hadn't seen before.
Yeah.
And so he asked.
Yeah.
I saw him ask all the time.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I'm sure it must happen with other instruments, but I can't imagine any instrument has more of that going on.
I think you're right.
Bumping into another guitar player. Hey, how'd you do that? I mean, most of us from, say, the 60s and 70s, that's how we learned.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It's like, show me that chord or show me that lick. And so you might learn something pretty advanced, might not even understand how it's constructed, but you might know it. And someday might want to or need to go back and understand why that chord works in the context that you learned it,
There's another thing I do. If I learn a lick like that now, I know, try to play that same lick somewhere else on the neck. Because, all the notes are on there more than once.
Right.
And then the other thing is, see if you can play that same lick in another key.
Yeah.
And what'll happen is the lick will become, you'll have to modify it somewhat, so it'll become part of your working vocabulary. Plus, you'll learn more about where stuff is on the fingerboard.
It's never ending, isn't it?
Yeah.
You and I talk about that all the time. It
Thank
just
goodness
never ends, right?
Yeah. I'll quote Chet again. There's always something.
Okay, we have a winner.
Yeah.
His name or her name is Tumber Frog. Tumber Frog, you won the $100 gift card. It's already in your account. Tell us the name of the album that you played on.
The Wayward Wind.
And who was the flautist?
The flute picker was James Galway.
Flute picker.
Yeah, that's what he loved it. Everybody called him that in Nashville. So he's an Irish classical musician.
Yeah.
And he came to Nashville. He was beginning to have some success as a soloist with orchestras, and he decided to record some classic Nashville tunes. And so we did In the Pines and things like that. And we did dueling banjos. I wrote out banjo licks for him to play. He could play banjo licks on a flute.
Cool.
And he hung around Nashville, and he was just a great guy to work with, And it's the first time he'd ever seen the whole Nashville number system. I mean, what an experience. Of course, what I got to sit on a piano bench and look at a piece of paper with song titles and play while he stood right here and played that $1 million sound.
Wow.
And I thought, whoa, what a gig.
What an experience.
Again, not on my bucket list.
I know. So listen, we have run over, but no one's complaining about that. I did promise, John, that if they shared and showed their love with those thumbs up, which they indeed did, with a great enthusiasm. In fact, it's 112 thumbs ups now, that I would absolutely force you, twist your arm to play one of my favorite songs.
Here we go.
The Gorilla Song.
Yes. So I've got my practice mute on the strings here. And that was something I would do at the breakfast table to keep the family peace so I could practice at breakfast without drowning everybody. And one day my son Jay, who was about 4, said, "Hey, Dad, let's write a song." And I said, "Do you know how to write songs?" He said, "Oh, yeah, you make them up." Okay. I said, "Well, what are we going to write about?" And he said, "That banana." And I said, "What about it?" And he said, "A monkey is eating it." No, a gorilla is eating it. So I did, "If I were a gorilla, la, 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 I'd eat me a banana, na, 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 na." And he said, "Make him swing through the trees, Dad. I live in a treehouse and swing on a vine. One thing is sure, I would love you. Yeah, 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 yeah. And if I were a tuba, ba, 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 all I do is oompa, pa 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 pa. I would take a big breath and march in a band. One thing is sure, I would love you. Yeah, 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 yeah. 'Cause it don't matter to me, whatever you happen to be. A beagle, a grunion, a fig, or an ape, as long as you're you, I will love you. Yeah, 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 yeah. Now, if I were a spaceship, beep, 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 I would take a long trip, rip, 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 rip. I would circle the planets and head for the stars. Then I'd come home, 'cause I love you. Yeah, 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 yeah. And if I were a daisy, zizzy, zizzy, zee, you'd still be my baby. Baby, baby, I would pull all my petals out, one at a time, and always come up with I love you. Yeah, 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 yeah. 'Cause it don't matter to me, whatever you happen to be. An eagle, an onion, a pig, or a grape, as long as you're you, I will love you. Yeah, 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 yeah. Boom, boom.
Fantastic. Well, say goodnight to all your friends, family, and fans from around the world. Thank
Oh,
you
man.
so much for, carving out this hour or so to do this broadcast with us. And can't wait for you to come back, man.
It was a treat for me. See you guys, and thanks for tuning in.